Let's talk about Kamala Harris. Strengths. I love that she never had to demand respect, but her manner of speaking always naturally commanded it. She was far and away the best performer in this particular aspect of round one. Her first breakout moment of the night was when the candidates in the very beginning all started scrambling to get attention to jump in, and she just set the record straight right off the bat and said, look, America doesn't want to witness a food fight. They want to know how we're going to put food on the table. And even Biden clapped for her after stating that. So people behaved a little bit better afterwards. So she definitely stepped up right from the beginning as a leader who people respected and were willing to follow. She was also the only candidate that night to tell real stories. Personal stories, like stories of neighborhood children when she was young who weren't allowed to play with her because she was Black, as well as some archetypal stories of Latin American mothers who have to make the heart-wrenching decision to send their children with a coyote to smuggle them across the border illegally. And either way, these are real stories, they're personal, they illustrate and humanize issues at hand. And she delivered them perfectly. They were passionate and compassionate without being overly emotional or overly angry or overly anything in a way that would eventually come back to haunt her. They were perfectly measured in their delivery to suit the image that she was looking to project and the tone that she wanted to set. Now, as far as soundbite messaging is concerned, she had some efforts, but it was inconsistent and really could have been and needed to be tighter. So with regard to the immigration crisis, for example, she had a good list of changes like reinstating DACA, extending deferral of deportation for their parents and veterans who fought for the country, enacting a plan to process asylum cases and releasing children from cages, getting rid of private detention centers. In there were some sound bites. Reinstate DACA. Great soundbite. But extending deferral of deportation for their parents and veterans who have fought, there's got to be a way to tighten that up or separate them or just pick one and have it be what you stand for. It can't be the full laundry list. Pick a couple that are going to be your top most important. She also had a very clear message with regard to the economy and specifically jobs. She said, no American should have to work more than one job to put a roof over their head and food on their table. Now, that's great. That was really clear, reasonably concise. If there's a way to get that down to something a little bit tighter that people can recite more easily, that would be great. I mean, a car in every driveway and a chicken in every pot. Those are a little bit more soundbitey, going back to much earlier candidates and elections. But nevertheless, it's sort of reminiscent of the same themes. Even if she'd been able to say something along the lines of, one job that provides for a full living and a full life, whatever it takes, get it down so it's tighter and more repeatable for other people. She also had a really great but subtle gender reference. At one point she said, I want to ensure that this microphone that the President of the U.S. holds in her hand is used in a way that reflects the values of this country. And I thought that was very subtle, very clever as a way to reference, yes, we want to get a woman in the White House, but she didn't have to keep repeating the woman refrain. I think Hillary relied on that a little bit too much. We need a woman in the White House. We need a woman in the White House. We need a woman in the White House. There's some people who liked it, some people who didn't. Ideally, what the message needs to be is we want the best candidate possible for all in the White House. And in this case, it just happens to be a woman, which is a bonus. It's a bingo for everybody. So, but saying that you should vote for me because I'm a woman, I think diminishes the actual importance or the value of what women bring, and just says vote for me because of the gender. I think that limits women's values. Vocally, I thought that Harris was the most consistently presidential sounding. She had no upspeak. She used great, strategically consistent intonation. She was concise in her points. She did not have run-on sentences. It was well-paced, good speed, and well-timed pauses. She projects the most the most consistent balance of confidence, passion, and authority without ever crossing the line into those dangerous territories of being overly emotional, witchy, or if you will, bitchy, whiny, or screechy. It was just a very consistent, calm strength. And I think that's what America is really looking for right now. And then visually, a distinction between her and Warren was that she also pointed fingers sometimes, but it was up. The back of the palm was toward the audience, and it was like saying, I want you to hear this one critical thing. This is critical. Listen to this one. It was one, not you. And that small shift makes this acceptable and this a little defensiveness inspiring. So again, I think she was the best performer of the night.